All right, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me? Let's give a second for everyone to log in. Okay, I think it should work now. Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear me? All right, let's see if that works. I did post a different link on Twitter, so let's hope people start joining. Sorry about that, guys. Still new at this, trying to figure things out. The other link worked when we were testing it out, but I don't know why it's not working now. All right, we see some people up in chat, so it looks like we finally got it right this time around. Not sure why that link didn't work. I don't know why. That's the exact link that's showing on my YouTube page. But okay, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we got 88 people logged in. That's good enough. All right, we're already over time. So happy Easter, everyone. Really glad to see all your pretty faces out here. Been wanting to do this for a while, and really wanted to just get it done. And I'm gonna be not available for the next couple of weeks, so I just wanted to get it out of the way. And I kind of noticed a lot of you guys have been, asking for me to do this for a while, and like I said, I've been wanting to do it. So let's go ahead and take care of it today. And for those of you that can't make it, it's all good. I'm gonna be doing this periodically from time to time, maybe once a month or something like that. So no worries, and I believe this particular stream will be recorded automatically according to YouTube. I guess they're going to post a recording of the stream maybe about 12 hours from now or something like that. That's what I was reading. Again, this is my first time using this, so I apologize if that's not the case. But either way, we're going to post the answers to the most common questions I'm getting, because I'm sure I haven't gone through every single question, but a lot of the questions I'm sure will be repeated. I'm sure I got like 10 people asking me what broker did I use or something like that, like always. We're going to go ahead and put that question to rest, guys, so that way you guys don't ask me, what broker do I use, or how much money did I start with, or how long I've been trading. Hopefully we can get those out of the way and we can move on to more, intermediate and advanced questions moving forward. But that being said, guys, hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. It's great to finally have a 3-day weekend conveniently around the time taxes are due. So huge sigh of relief. Hopefully you guys got your taxes out of the way and over and done with, and you got a chance to enjoy your holiday. And let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to go over is a special, very, very special announcement. I'm very, very proud to formally open my new website, as you can see on the screen right now, madazmoney.com. New logo and everything. I paid some other guy to do it. It wasn't like a 5-minute Photoshop job that I did at like 12 a.m. at night. I love digging the new logo. Hopefully you guys dig it too. But yeah, check out the new website, guys. I had this idea sometime late last year, 2016, when I kind of realized when somebody was asking me for content, they're asking me, where's your washout long video? Where's your blog post where you talk about scanner settings or whatever? And I would have to like go through like 4 or 5 different places to find these links. So I'm like, you know what? Let's consolidate everything and put them all in the same place. All right, let's put them all on one web page. So that way, next time I could just send madazmoney.com. Hey, go there, and you can go and look at whatever video you want, and at the same time, you can go look at whatever blog post you want. So for the purpose of this website, I'm just basically putting all of my content in one spot. That way, you guys got like a centralized hub. You can go there, check out my content, YouTube videos, blog posts, what have you. And we're going to go ahead and add more content as time goes on. But for the purpose of this grand opening, we're just basically combining everything I've had so far into one single website. So that way it's more convenient for you guys. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. Check it out. And thanks a lot to my good buddy Richie, who's busted his ass for the last couple months. I know you're hiding somewhere in there, Richie, but definitely amazing job. A wonderful amount of work that he's put in. And now he's been eating cup of noodles for the last 3 months, but with this week's profits, I promise you I'll take you out for a couple of Big Macs, Richie. So a nice pat and back for Richie here for putting together such an amazing website. So quick look at the website if you guys want to just do a little quick tour here. So this is basically the page. So this is going to be basically my profit and loss link, and this is the blog. You got your Twitter stream, everything. You got my backstory. A lot of you guys are always curious about my backstory, and it's all there. You got the FAQs. I'm going to add some more things to the FAQs later on. But overall, a really, really good resource for you guys. Everything is still free as always. Always about paying it forward, giving back to the community. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. So let's go ahead and move on to the questions without further ado. So first question is from Sergio, who asks, do I mentor? Am I a member of IU? Best way to improve timing on trades and not be scared of trading? Best broker to start? Haha. How much did you start with? Double, haha. Best advice for novice traders. So do I mentor? Currently, no. Am I open to it in the future? Sure, why not? There's lots of things that I have in mind in terms of ideas moving forward. But as of right now, I'm enjoying life the way it is. I'm happy with, my trading performance. I'm able to live off of it. And my time is very valuable to me, as you guys know. But if I were to do something like that in terms of mentoring, I'd probably, take a very limited amount of people just because I want to, keep a lot of time to myself. So that being said, guys, it's an opportunity that I might consider, but as of right now, no. Am I a member of IU? No, I'm not a member of IU. Best way to improve timing on trades and not be scared of trading? This is a very broad question. Unfortunately, I won't be able to really answer it in the time allotted. So, Sergio, if you want to talk about this on Twitter or on email, we can discuss that later on. Best broker to start with? Anyone who's starting off, I would highly recommend a very simple conventional broker like an E-Trade, a TD Ameritrade, or something like that. That's only because they're very simple, very easy to use, very easy to kind of gauge what trading is all about without all these hidden fees here and there that newer traders won't understand, things like ECN fees or locate fees or something like that. So you don't want to jump off of the deep end of the pool, so to speak. So I personally started with E-Trade, then I moved on to Ameritrade. And if you're brand new and you're starting off, I highly recommend that. And if you have less than 25,000, and there are a couple of options. A lot of people would go with SureTrader. A lot of people ask me about SureTrader, but I don't really have much of an opinion about them. I've never really used them. But for the most part, those are pretty much your options. How much did I start with? I started with $6,000 in my E-Trade account. And best advice for novice traders, I would say paper trade first, familiarize yourselves with the platform, really do your due diligence and understand at least the fundamentals very, 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 very well before you put in some real money. And then once you start trading, start off small and stay small until you're consistent enough to move on up. So hopefully I answered your questions there, Sergio. Mario asks, how much money do you set aside for taxes to pay at the end of the year? Do you set aside each transaction or how? I won't go too much into detail of this question. I'm not a certified public accountant, and I don't want to give any sort of accountant tax advice. But for me personally, just to answer the first part, I set aside how much I think how I'm gonna owe. You have a pretty good idea how much money you're making. You know what the tax brackets are. You can Google that. And just do some simple math and you can figure it out. It's pretty simple. Parsa asks, have you always used the scalping method, or did you realize this is where you were most successful? Have you traded derivatives? If not, what stopped you from getting into things like options? There are some aspects you not like about them. So I've not always used the scalping method, but I've pretty much used it throughout most of my trading career, if you want to call it that. Basically, I've tried swing trading. I was never really good at it. And to each his own. There's no one right or wrong way to trade. As long as you achieve the desired result, which is obviously making money, you're fine. But for the most part, scalping has been my main thing. And I'm going to probably make a video describing why I do it at some point later in time. Have I ever tried trading derivatives? Yes, I did try trading options a couple years back, 2014 or something like that. I was terrible at them, and yeah, don't plan on getting back into there. I just, there are some things that you can't be good at everything, basically, and options wasn't really my thing. So that's pretty much it. All right, so David asks, do you follow any specific candlestick patterns when looking for a stock to advance? So not really sure what your question really specifies, but I don't really follow candlestick patterns for the reason that candlestick patterns are kind of like you see what you want to see. After the fact, you see, some sort of pattern, you'll just be like, okay, this stock is going up because there's an ascending triangle or something like that, or the stock is going to go up because there's a bull flag or whatever you want to call it, however you want to justify your position. If you're long, obviously you're going to justify us calling it a bull flag, but if you were short, you would probably say something like, well, the stock's making lower highs and lower lows or whatever. So I feel like there's just too much subjectivity when it comes to candlestick patterns, and for that reason I don't really implement them in my trading. Does not mean that they're useless. There's some people that obviously make a very good living off of just candlestick patterns, but just my personal opinion, I just feel like they're just very, very subjective. You see what you want to see. You're going to justify your trades the way you want to see them, and for that reason I don't really use them. All right, next question. Paul asks, can you briefly explain the commissions at Standard Point? With my style in out several times, I want to know if commissions will eat me up. Well, the commissions at Center Point are obviously located on the Center Point website, so you can go ahead and check that out for yourself. But for the most part, if you are a scalp trader like myself, and if you're doing big size, then you should probably go with per trade. If you are a small size scalper, less than 1,000 shares, I would say, your best bet is to probably go in with per share. All right. Next question. What was your biggest loss before the whole dries nonsense? Tell us how it happened. What did you learn from it? What did you do after that? Okay, so my biggest loss prior to the dries nonsense was on a stock called BIN. I'm not sure you're familiar with that, BIND. And it was during a period of time where every single stock would gap and crap or pop and drop at the open. And, I was with Speed Trader at the time, and their locates were not as good as Center Point. And I was pretty much not able to short most of these plays, and eventually I developed some serious FOMO when I finally got shorts on a stock, which happened to be BIN. I jumped in with massive size. Obviously, it was FOMO, fear of missing out, and ended up losing 70K, and that was my biggest loss before the whole dries fiasco. So basically, the lesson there was, FOMO kills. As simple as that. If you're afraid of missing out and you just jump in for the sake of jumping in, more often than not, it's not going to work out too well. And even if it does work out, let's be completely real, you just got lucky there. So there's nothing really good that you can take out of it if you look at it very objectively. So just control that FOMO, guys. Believe me, I've been there. It's not fun. What were your main issues in your first 1 to 2 years of trading, if any? Have you experienced fear and missed profitable trades as a result? So my main issues in my first 1 or 2 years of trading was simply I wasn't educated enough about trading. I mean, when it comes to trading, you're always constantly learning. I always believe that regardless of what you do in your life, you never stop learning until the day that you die, essentially. So trading is no different. You're constantly learning. And in my first 1 or 2 years, after I made my first couple profitable trades, I felt like I understood everything. I felt like I was ready to go in big and go for the big bucks. Well, obviously, as I found out, that didn't work out too well. So now you got to keep an open mind. You got to mature as a trader. It's a very huge aspect of trading. If you ever believe that you made it to the top, believe me, that's when you start failing. So you always got to keep an open mind and realize that you're going to keep learning. It's a perpetual learning process. You're going to keep acquiring new knowledge that you're going to implement day in and day out. And obviously the market is a changing environment as well. It's a huge variable. Strategies from 2012 aren't going to be, as effective, if effective at all, in 2017. So if you guys have been around for that long and if you guys kind of witness how the market has changed, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, I guess you could say that the fallacy of my first 2 years of trading was basically just thinking that I knew everything already. And eventually I started, feeling the pain, taking some losses. And yeah, of course, that's going to wreak havoc on your psyche moving forward. So you're going to start thinking, whatever you believed in before that was working now is no longer working. Now you're in kind of like a state of shock. So, just got to keep an open mind. Just as long as you kind of be forever a student of the game, so to speak, you'll be fine. I know you've been close to quitting in the past. Tell us the details. So, ties in with that. Basically, back in the penny stock days, toward the end of the downfall, the penny stock promotions, There were a couple of bad picks if you guys were around for that. I did the fallacy of going all in on a couple of the last, pump and dump jobs and got caught in several and took a couple of sizable hits. And at that point, I was making most of my money off of those, buying those picks at the open and selling them for, a five-figure profit. And once those kind of collapsed, it was kind of like, what am I going to do? I got to find another source of income in the market, and it was kind of like a very tough period for me. I didn't think that I could learn a new style of trading or trade a new type of stock, learn a new type of play. And yeah, it was tough. When you're taking away a man's food, he's gonna starve unless he finds a new source of food. So that's pretty much how it was for me. Took some bad hits. Took 3 months off. Came back and had never looked back since, because the weed hype, if you guys were around for that, 2014, around December, January, February, around there, the weed hype was like the most epic, the last hurrah, I would say, almost, for penny stocks, when the volume was still epic, and you can still go in with some massive size and stuff like that, and get out with the liquidity. But I had my best month in February of 2014, and never looked back since. So if you guys ever struggle, you think about quitting, there's no harm in taking a break, guys. Nothing wrong with that. All right, next question. Nikita asks, I've been watching washout longs and halt longs for a while to add these plays to my playbook, and I've realized that the only question for me is to evaluate if I'm wrong. If we have support levels from pre-market, we want to get long on a washout close to these levels. What should we use as our risk? So you should basically use, it depends obviously. From person to person, we have different risk tolerances. So, if you can take let's say the closest support level is 30 cents away, and if you can only afford a 30-cent loss, then that should be your risk. If you can take a 60-cent loss, which is maybe where the next support level is at, then maybe your risk could be 60 cents. So it really varies. There's no, one right or wrong way to approach it. So it depends on your risk. Always use the support and resistance levels. Write down support level 1, support level 2, resistance level 1, resistance level 2, and what have you. And base your risk off of that. If you can take that kind of a hit, then go with support level 1. If you can take even more of a hit, support level 2, etc., etc. All right, next question. All right, Tuba asks, how many monitors do you use? I use 5 monitors. 4 main ones, and another one where I use to stream CNBC or, my news feed. How do you recognize a pump and dump? It's really tough to tell if something is a pump and dump until you realize after the fact that it's dumped. So I really don't think about too much if it's a pump and dump. I just play the momentum. If the stock's going up, I'm just going to keep going long until it stops working. Stock starts dumping, then I'm just going to short pop. Simple as that. I'm not going to dwell on if it's a pump and dump or whatever, unless it's blatantly known as a pump and dump, like a chat room pump or something like that. Then yeah. But other than that, if a stock has volume, price action, just don't think too much of it. Just ride the wave until it crashes. All right, Monty asks, once you've decided on a bias at the open, long the washout, or short the pops, how do you decide your entry point? Is it purely based on level 2 action? Are you using support, resistant points, or both? So I'll try my best to keep this concise. I could probably talk about this kind of question for hours on end. So like I said in the guidelines, try not to ask questions that require a very lengthy answer. So I'm going to keep this short. So basically, You just decide your entry points based off support and resistance. You pretty much answered it in the question, and you just observe the level 2 or the tape or the time sales, how it behaves at those support and resistance points. So if you see like a huge washout at the open, and then you see the level 2 tape kind of stall at support level 1 or whatever you want to call it, then that might be an entry. But just be ready in case you might get the stall and it dumps further. I mean, there was a stock recently, TNXP, I believe, that infinitely dumped, no bounce. And I believe ESPR on day 2, I got caught in that one. It dumped like relentlessly, and it didn't bounce for like 15, 30 minutes or whatever it was. I mean, you guys could look at it on the chart yourself. But yeah, I mean, those do happen. So be prepared for that. Have a stop loss. Again, define your risk levels according to your risk tolerance and don't deviate from it. Once in a position, I use tape speed to help me exit. Any info on what helps you to decide where to exit would be helpful. So that's pretty much what I just said. Tape speed. When the tape slows down, that's probably a good place to enter, exit a trade. From a scalping standpoint, I know all of the swing traders and all day hold people are gonna jump on me for that one, but I don't really care. This is this is scalping, and this is what I do. So yes, I use tape speed, support and resistance combining with tape speed. Once going long or short of the open and the trade goes against you, what do you use at an exit point? Again, tape speed. Dollar or percentage loss point, I always use dollar. I don't pay attention to percent, because if you're talking about a couple cents on a scalp, I mean, there's no real point in dealing with percent, really. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a lot easier to do the math too. If you have like 10,000 shares, for example, 10 cents times 10,000 shares is $1,000. 20 cents times 10,000 shares is $2,000, and so on. So it's a lot easier to do that quick mental math in your head and calculate your P&L as opposed to percentage. Crack of some support resistance level 2 action. That's exactly what I mentioned. Basically, how to not get smoked by exiting early when wrong. By exiting early when wrong on the bias. So yeah, I mean, like I said, define your risk levels and exit at the proper support and resistance levels that are closest to your defined risk tolerance. What specifically do you watch to change biases during the day? Just VWAP or other signals as well? So this is a pretty good question. VWAP is a huge over-under that I use, and I'll probably make a video on just VWAP. For the sake of time, I really can't do a full explanation on it, but VWAP is a great over-under indicator. You notice that a lot of, the stocks tend to change trends when they cross VWAP one way or another. Other signals I would probably use would be, for instance, a stock that is not holding a trend. And by holding a trend, I mean if a stock is in a downtrend and even if it starts going flat, I would consider that no longer holding a trend, because it's no longer making lower highs and lower lows, for example. If you guys have noticed the action recently, a lot of stocks that have been consolidating even at the lows of the day have the potential to rip back to new highs. So you can't really rule anything out. So when the stock consolidates for a very long time, the shorts can get anxious and they can get squeezed at any point in time. So when I start seeing things like that, I usually exit the position, leave it alone, leave the shorts that want to go for the all-day hold to do their thing. I'm going to be taking my trader nap, obviously, while all that's going on. So you guys and all you guys out there going for the home run, it's all you. What factors go into choice of position size? Okay, that's a good question as well. So the easiest way, volume. You want to pick a position size that allows you to go in and out and not get dinged with slippage. Obviously, you guys know that I was pretty open with my battle with slippage earlier this year, and that prompted me to reduce my size substantially to the point where I wanted to minimize the effects of slippage. There's nothing worse than exiting a trade expecting to lose, say, 10 cents, and then you end up losing 20 or 30 cents because of slippage. That sucks. You were thinking about losing 10,000 shares on 10 cents, that's $1,000, and you end up losing $3,000. That's terrible. That adds up. So, you want to pick a size that's proportional to the volume, basically. So, if you kind of trade for a while, you observe the action, you kind of get a good feel of how the volume is pacing at, and how you're able to size up appropriately. So if I can kind of see like a stock is trading 200, 300,000 shares in the first minute or something like that, you can kind of gauge that it's probably going to trade somewhere between 600 to 900,000 shares in 3 minutes. 200, 300,000 in 1 minute times three. So you can kind of see like, okay, if it trades 900,000 shares, then I can probably take like a 10K share position and probably realistically be able to get in and out without too much of a slippage issue. So just get a feel for it. There's no real formula, like a concrete formula. You just gotta get a feel for it. There are things that obviously affect that as well, like the price of the stock. And obviously, you're not gonna do 10,000 shares on a stock. That's like $100 or something like that. So those things you have to take into consideration as well. So price of the stock, the spread, the float, but of course the volume. Those things are very, very crucial when it comes to size. I don't know which asshole to select this video, but if I find out who you are, I'm kicking you out. Okay, so I believe his name is Anton. He asked me a question in Russian. I'm sorry, Anton. My Russian is a little bit shaky. But привет. Yeah, I don't really see a question in here. So yeah, I'm sorry, Anton. If you have a question, feel free to email me. I'll answer you at a later point in time. Okay, Paul asks if you could explain what your definition of what a washout is and what you look for, that would be great. So I explained this earlier. Basically, you want to look for a huge drop to a key support level, ideally, and you want to look for a nice volume. You want to look for a candle that eventually wicks back. So you want to see basically like a springboard effect. Stock goes down, and what's going on is basically the algos are just freaking out, and they're just trying to correct the stock back to where it should be to correct that panic. So it's gonna springboard back, and that's when I know I'm in the clear. So in the end, you gotta learn how to anticipate these things. That takes time. So don't try to be a general on the first day on the battlefield, is what I like to say. So start out small, and then you'll kind of read the tape a little bit better, and you're able to anticipate them. But definitely don't chase the move. I know there are some gurus out there, I'm not going to name any names, that kind of promote chasing. Yeah, I couldn't disagree with that more. But, to each his own. If it's working, it's working. If it's not, it's not. But for me personally, I just read the tape, anticipate the bottom, wait for the wick, and that's how I know I'm good. All right, Manish asks, can you let me know if you are looking at say 4 stocks pre-market? Do you have your setup ready on Dash platform? Would limit orders at possible supports for long or possible resistance for short? Ready based on your pre-market analysis? If so, I'm guessing you're looking at a tape speed at each of these, and tape slows down at price is at your predetermined level, and you execute the order. First of all, I really want to say that these questions are really good. That means that you guys have really been following my material, which I really, really appreciate. You guys using terminology like tape speed and tape slowing down and stuff like that. It really brings a tear to my eye, guys. Really, really good. Really, really glad that you guys are keeping up with my content and implementing it in your trading. And I'm seeing that a lot of you guys are, especially recently, you guys are doing very well using my strategy, and that's really awesome. So really good to see. Really good to see people are doing very well in the community. So to answer your question, Manish, basically, I do have the stocks ready on my platform. I don't have any orders in because I don't like to have that risk of getting fat fingered or something like that. So basically, or having orders frozen or something, like in case the server crashes, the order server or the DAS platform, disconnects or something like that, your order's stuck, and then the market opens, it fills your order, and you can't sell, right? So for that reason, I don't have any orders actually in, but I do have the price punched in. So basically, all I have to do is just click buy, and I do have a general idea of where the price is going to drop, and this comes from experience and obviously technical analysis. So yeah, so that's a lot of guys ask, like, how do I get in and out so fast? A couple of reasons. I already have the order punched in, and I'm just really, really fast with the keyboard and the mouse, and I'll have that hotkeys help as well. So yes, definitely tape speed at those support levels, as always. I've mentioned that a couple times already. So yeah, tape speed, have your orders ready. Not sent out to the market, but just have them ready such that they're just one click away from being sent to the market, basically. All right, Elvis asks, in your blog, you have indicated rules not to break. Have you broken them? Of course, I mean, I'm human. It happens. I try my best, obviously, not to break them, and for the most part, I haven't. I mean, my performance over the past, 2 months and a half or so, have been pretty indicative of that. I put that up there for a reason, not only to, share with you guys what I've been going through and my thought process, but as well to remind myself. So, I once in a while I take a look and remind myself of what I wrote. So these things help me, keep consistent with my strategies and my rules, and my performance has been, satisfactory relative to these rules being upheld. So for the most part, yeah, once in a while I have caught myself breaking those rules, and I immediately exit the position a couple of times. But definitely for the most part, if you guys have been noticing, yeah, I've been doing decently, and on top of that, I've been minimizing the amount of stress that I've been stuck in, which is the key. Making good money is one thing, but making good stress-free money is another thing. As we all know, trading is a very stressful gig. I think everyone would agree to that. So it's in our best interest to minimize as much stress as possible. So for the most part, breaking rules obviously would no undoubtedly increase your stress levels, especially if you put yourself in a situation where it's like a coin flip and you're on the wrong side of the coin flip. But for the most part, you stick to your rules. As cliche as that sounds, you stick to your rules. Walk away when you have to. Take your trader nap. I take my trader nap. I mean, I joke about that, but in reality, it really does help. You just walk away, turn off your platform, turn off your computer, and if you're worried about missing a play or something like that, just set an alert, put an annoying sound. If stock XYZ is breaking out to new highs on the day, and you want to scalp that move or something like that, shorts are getting screwed up the ass, and you want to scalp the long or something like that, just put an alert at high day, make it play like the most annoying sound you could find, and you'll wake up, believe me. So that's pretty much what I do, and for the most part, it's kept me sane and stress free. All right. Jason asks, can the big buttons on toss or the active trader ladder be used for your scalping style? Or are hot buttons on speed trader or the like a must for this style of trading? I'm not sure what that meant, but I think he's just asking about hotkeys in general. So I've personally never used the big buttons or the active trader ladder on toss. I mean, it's like heavily used by futures traders, I believe. But I mean, I've seen some people use it. It looks like it's pretty ideal for scalping, but I personally don't have any hands-on experience on it, so unfortunately, I can't really say. But I would say it's worth a shot. It looks pretty good. The hotkeys on DAS are a must, absolutely. If you are trading without hotkeys, I mean, let me tell you, you're bringing a knife to a gunfight, believe me. Or you bring in like an empty gun with no bullets in it. So, yeah, set up your hotkeys. If you haven't done so already, check out my hotkeys video. It's on my YouTube channel, which you can now access via my website, madazmoney.com. So check that out if you haven't done so already. Shows you how to write scripts, your own customized hotkeys on DAS. You could make whatever you want, change routes, auto stop out, whatever. It all works. So check it out, guys. Okay, Austin, how long did it take for you to become consistently profitable? How did you make the transition to full-time trader, to becoming a full-time trader? Okay, so it's a question I get asked a lot, and if you go to my bio, once again on madazmoney.com, you could read all about it. But a quick summary, it took me about a year to become consistently profitable, but even then, I experienced some ups and downs that I would say made it seem inconsistent at times. But I was fairly comfortable around the 1 year mark. And granted, this is without a mentor. This is me teaching myself. So if you're out there and you got a solid mentor teaching you, maybe you can cut that time down to 6 months depending on your ability to, absorb knowledge. So that's obviously on you. But personally for me, I can only speak for myself. It took me about a year. And how did I transition to becoming a full-time trader? So I basically, I'm usually the kind of guy that's very, I don't like to jump off on a deep end of the pool and go all in on something, so to speak. So I didn't say one day, I didn't wake up and say, I didn't say like, fuck it, I'm going to quit my job and I'm just going to trade for a living while having like 25K in my trading account. I didn't do that by any means. That's not the smartest thing to do from a financial standpoint. So I actually waited. I quit my job after trading for 3 years, and I waited for 2 years of making six figures trading trading profits. So I had 2 consecutive years of six-figure profits, and on top of that, I brought my lunch every day to work. I didn't eat out, and I pretty much saved up a lot of money. I ended up saving about, I think it was 5 times my annual salary. So 5 times my annual salary on top of 2 consecutive years of six-figure income was enough for me to say I'm good. I'm gonna do this for a living. And I also dropped out of my master's program as well. So at that point I was all in, but I was pretty confident at that point that I'd be able to, at the very least, make close to 6 figures, even on a bad year. So that's pretty much how I did it, and I'm quite thankful that I've been able to do that. And I get to sit on my ass at home in my underwear clicking buttons, making, couple $1,000 every day. I mean, you can't really beat that, right? So if you guys can find a better gig, let me know. Maybe I'll do that instead. Sharad asks, as someone who followed since your days of being late for work and trading from your mobile. Oh, Sharad, yeah, you've been following me for a very long time indeed. When and what made you feel like you could leave the 9 to 5 and make trading your primary source of income? So I just answered that question. So just feeling comfortable with the amount of money I had in my bank account, the cushion, and just making sure I was consistent at trading. That's all it really was. Just be responsible about it. So yeah, I see you suggested confidence, consistency, and just knew it. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the gist of it. Once you feel like you are well versed in something and you can do it confidently, like, for the first time, you say you're learning to drive, you're 16, you're getting your driver's license. I mean, you're probably fucking up, scaring your driver's ed instructor. But once after a certain point, you're gonna get the hang of it. And trading's the same thing. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult than driving an automobile, but you get the gist of it once you kind of recognize there's some patterns here and there. So, for some people it takes 6 months, for some people it'll take a year, for some people it'll take 3 years, like myself, to quit my job. Some people might take 5, 6, 7. It doesn't matter. As long as you get there, it's all good. So we got about 16 minutes left, and there are a lot of questions, guys. I really appreciate all these questions, but unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to get to all of them. So nothing against you. It was a first come, first serve kind of thing. So just to be fair to everyone, but I will try my best to answer your questions via email after the fact. I will be gone for the rest of the day, so I won't be able to do that or get to all of you at the very least until tomorrow. But thank you again, guys, for attending. I really, really appreciate it. 228 people on this stream. That's more than I expected, and that's absolutely wonderful. Thanks again for all the questions. Thanks for all the support through all these years. And like I said, it's all about giving back. The trading community has been amazing to me, and I'll do my best to help you guys whenever I can, as much as time permits, as much as I have my resources to do so. I will do exactly that. All right, guys. Next question is from Chris, who asked, in the beginning, when you started trading, what were the initial steps you took to become profitable and consistent? Which I already answered. Did you study under a guru? No, I did not. It's learned on my own. How long did I watch the market? I'm not sure what you mean by how long did I watch the market, but I sort of jumped right into it. Not recommended. Definitely would recommend people to, like I said, paper trade and get familiarized with the platform at the very least, so that way you're not clicking on buttons you're not supposed to click on and lose money that way. There's nothing more frustrating than that. If you make a bad trade, so be it. You can kind of write down your notes and learn from it. But if you click on sell, like short instead of buy when you want to go long, I mean, that's, you're just setting yourself off on the wrong track from the start. So definitely use paper trading as a way to learn the platform at the very least, and just learn how things work. Did you blow up an account before you stepped back in and found your style and strategy? Yes, absolutely. I think every single trader starting off probably has blown their account, unless they just got really lucky and and took out their money and knew exactly when to stop when the market sentiment changed or something like that. It's very difficult to know that when you're new and starting off. But yeah, absolutely, I did blow up an account my first year. I made for a nice tax write-off the next year. To look at the silver lining and things, but no, absolutely, it was a very difficult beginning. It was definitely not as easy as I expected it to be, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys that are starting off would probably find out the same thing. All right, next question. Abraham asks, just wanted to ask if there was a turning point in your trading career where everything just clicked and the changes you made really made a difference, and what were the changes you made? It's a very good question. I did somewhat answer a similar question earlier, but trading is definitely one of those things where you wake up one day and it just clicks. And obviously, it's not because you took a nap and made a wish to the genie and he granted your wish and you woke up and you're magically a trader savant by any means. It's a lot of hard work and dedication, obviously, and you guys know that. But the changes that I made was definitely that 3-month break that I took. It was a good opportunity for me to clear my mind and think about if trading was right for me. It allowed me to essentially hit the proverbial reset button, and I got to start fresh again. I came back and started with my my last $7,000 that I could afford to lose trading. And that 3-month break did wonders, because I turned that 7,000 into 150,000 in like 2.5, 3 months or something like that. And then the weed hype came along. Never looked back since. So sometimes a simple change could be as basic as taking a break and just ease back into it. Don't jump back in right away. Study some charts. Watch some videos or something like that, and review some of your old mistakes objectively. Now that you have a clear head, it's really hard to be objective about your mistakes, since you're very frustrated when you're in the moment, right? So once you have a 3-month break, you clear your head, you can kind of look back at your notes, look back at your mistakes, and think more objectively. So that's what I was able to do. I was able to look at what I did wrong, FOMO, chasing, averaging down, going all in. Typical mistakes that a fairly new trader would make. And I took a step back, reviewed them all, and just tried to be objective with things, and got back into it, eased back in, and never looked back since. So that was probably the turning point in my trading career, and this was late 2013, I believe, late 2013, 2014, or something like that. Okay, so Luis asks, how many months of consistency before going full time? Like I said before, Depends on person to person how fast you absorb the knowledge. But for me personally, it took me about a year to get well versed and 3 years to go full time. So it's actually not a question of months for me. It was a question of years. If you could pick it up in months, more power to you. But trading is not easy, guys. Do you always base your washout long entry on a support level? Yes. Simply watch the level 2 for a reversal and trend. Yeah, absolutely. Mentioned that earlier. Do you use Bollinger Bands? Nope. And I don't use any other indicators. If you guys watch my videos, you guys know the only thing I use is VWAP. I use just watching high of day momentum and opening range breakouts for potential trades. No, not necessarily. Those are great setups. Absolutely great setups because it indicates that all the shorts are underwater. But there are, micro washouts that I play for quick scalps here and there. Shorting on pops. I have several examples on my YouTube channel that you guys can go and check out. Do you let the 1 minute candle close before entering, or do you go off of fives? Of course, this is a very common question I get asked. I use a 3 minute candle, and again, if you've missed the hundreds of times where I answered this question on Twitter, the reason why is because 1 minute is too much noise, and 5 minutes is simply too little data. So I don't get the full picture with the 5 minutes. 1 minute is just too choppy. 3 minutes, perfect compromise, seeing how 3 is a number that's perfectly between 1 and 5. All right, so next question. Manny asks, thanks for putting this together. You're a great inspiration to me. Hopefully one day I could choose to be close to where you are. Why, thank you, Manny. Appreciate the kind words. What broker did you use to start shorting in the beginning? Speed Trader was the first broker that really started to have some decent short lists. They're a decent broker. IB is also pretty good, although I haven't personally used them. But Centerpoint, hands down, is probably one of the best brokers for shorts if you have both Vision and ETC. So definitely, there's a reason why I keep mentioning them. I mean, they've done wonders for me. Their short list is nothing short of amazing if you have, like I said, both clearing firms. So definitely check them out when you get a chance. Did you read any books or followed anyone in the beginning? If so, any recommendations? No, unfortunately, I'm not a big book guy. The last book I read was The Da Vinci Code back in college or something like that. But I did read that book from beginning to end, so give me some credit there. But I'm not really a book guy. There are some videos on YouTube that you can check out. If you reach out to me later, I'll be able to send those to you. Do you typically do a watch list the night prior, or do you use trade ideas to compile the day of? So that's a very good question. I'm going to do a video on how I set up my watch list and how I implement trade ideas to develop my watch list. So basically, I do two things. So I have a watch list based off of end of day action. So basically, I'm looking for stocks that have a day 2 or continuation, multi-day runner, what have you. And I'm also looking for stocks the pre-market the morning of, and looking at gappers, looking at charts that look appealing. And again, I can't really go into detail because we're short on time, but that's pretty much how I do my watch lists based off of end of day action and pre-market action the next day. And that's pretty much where you see those tickers that I post on Twitter in the morning. That's where they come from. I will make a video explaining how I do that, so no need to worry, guys. Stay tuned for that. All right. Abe asks, what are your top 3 indicators that you use to identify runners in pre-market trading? So, top 3 indicators. I'm not sure what you classify as an indicator. I'm not sure if you mean like a technical indicator or whatever, but like I said, mentioned earlier, I don't use technical indicators aside from VWAP, so VWAP is kind of a non-factor pre-market because you don't have any data, obviously. But indicators, size of the gap, float, chart history. Does the stock have a tendency to fade? Does it have a tendency to squeeze and then fade? Does it have a tendency to just squeeze? Things like that. You use historical data to try to predict the future. That's pretty much trading in a nutshell. So those are pretty much the things that I look for. In your experience, what are the most common first signal that precedes a reversal? Honestly, right now the best thing is probably a VWAP cross in either direction. That's probably like a good confirmation. I mean, I'm not the big fan of trying to bottom tick or top tick, because if you guys know, trying to top tick a short is not a really good strategy if you want to prolong your life and live past the age of 40 or whatever. But yeah, I don't recommend that. I always go for confirmation. You gotta be willing to sacrifice, top ticking a stock or bottom ticking a stock in exchange for some peace of mind. So I would say a VWAP cross would be the best way to indicate. All right, Stake Freedom 14S. Thank you for the opportunity. I've learned a lot from your YouTube channel. I really and humbly request you to cover these, as these have troubled me for a while now. Well, I'm granting your wish, and I'm going to cover them right now. I saw you made money first going long, then somehow recognized the backside and move and made money short. How did you know that it's momentum shift? Like I said, VWAP cross. That's mainly my thing. Then short pops toward VWAP, and then short pops toward any lower highs that may be acting as resistance. For washout long, say if the stock goes below entry, do you add to the loser or cut it? Or if you cut it, how do you decide the risk point at which you cut in the moment? Again, seems to be a very popular question. Again, it depends on your risk tolerance. If you can take a certain hit, then, identify the nearest support level close in proximity to your risk tolerance and stop out there. That's it. Simple as that. How do you plan for a take profit target when you don't know how far a stock will go? Do you make plans that mention what your take profit target will be? So basically, it's very simple. It's just the resistance level. When the stock panic pops to a resistance level, I'm going to take profits. Once in a while, it's going to go past that. But so what? I'm going to get back in, and I'm going to take the next move. There's nothing worse than getting greedy and hoping that the stock blows past the first resistance and gambling that it will go to the second one, and then getting stuck in a nasty dump or something like that. I've been in that position way too many times, so I don't do that anymore. Lock in your profits, guys. Regarding scale in and out of trades, how do you decide when to add and how much? Do you take profits in scaling or fashion all out in one go? I'm an all out, all in kind of guy. I know some people will debate me on that to the death, but the reason why I do that is because most of the time there's always going to be another pop to get back in. So, I want to be able to go to the bathroom or go and make myself a sandwich and come back knowing that my money is still going to be there, and I'm not stuck in like a news halt or something like that and the stock gets delisted or whatever. So I think that stock that was recently halted, CETC or whatever, that's still halted or something like that, and I think it's getting delisted. So sucks for those people that are swinging that long. So you never know. All right, how do you manage multiple positions at a given time? Well, I really don't. I at most enter in 2 trades at a time. I'd rather master and nail one solid trade than try to go for like 3 or 4 at a time and screw it all up. All right, so we are at 3:58. So we did start a little bit late, so I'll take 3 more questions and we're gonna end the session. Unfortunately, there's still like 20 more questions that I unfortunately won't be able to get to. Sorry about that, guys, but we can always get to that next time. Like I said, we're gonna do a lot of these sessions, so don't worry about that. Just 2 quick questions. Steven asks, can you go over the basics, whether to go long or short of the open? I already answered that, so you can refer to the recording later on. Do you always use limit, buy, sell, or as opposed to market? That's a very good question. I get asked this all the time. I always use limit, guys. The reason why you don't want to use market is because that's pretty much a blank check to the MMs saying that they can fill you wherever the hell they want. Just keep that in mind. I've been stuck in that before. You hit market, you get the fat finger. You know, don't come crying to me then. Madaz told you to use limit. So, heed that advice. Okay. Jacob asks, I've seen in some of your tweets that you were saying you're staying away from the stock because the direction is not clear. Could you mention some things that you look for intraday that convinces you the stock is going to continue to go up or down? Simple. The direction is not clear when the stock is going sideways. It's going flat, usually characterized by lack of volume. So usually when I say I don't want to get chopped up by the sideways lull or whatever, that's exactly what I mean. And you get, those of you that are well versed and have been trading for a while know exactly what I'm talking about. So when a stock is going sideways for like an hour, 2 hours, you want to gamble and say like, whatever, this stock's going to go up and it's 50-50. Let's be real here, guys. Take a step back and look at it. It's 50-50. It can go up or it can go down. Just wait for the stock to make a move. There's no reason to be there. Go take your trader nap, like I'm doing during that time probably. And by the time you wake up at like 2 p.m. Eastern time or whatever, maybe then the stock will finally decide to go up or down, and you could short pops or long dips when there's an obvious trend at that point. No need to just jump in, guys, for the sake of jumping in. That's pretty much FOMO by definition. All right, Damien asks, how do you enter quick washouts? Do you anticipate them with limit orders in place? So I did answer that question earlier. So Damien, please check the recording afterwards. Basically, like I said, limit orders not in place. I just anticipate them. What trade ideas? Rick asks, what trade idea scans do you run during the day? Please refer to my momentum, how to set up a momentum scanner video on YouTube, which again is accessible on my brand new website, madazmoney.com. Yeah, it's a great video. It's very simple. Even a caveman can do it. It's very simple settings, guys. It should take you no longer than 5 minutes, and it's great. It's been great at picking up the plays that come up randomly after they open, and I've posted screenshots that's shown that. So definitely check it out, Rick. All right. Tameen asks, how can one manage risk while scalping? Again, that just depends on your risk tolerance. If you're willing to risk a certain amount, find the support and resistance levels that are around that your risk tolerance and set a stop. Simple as that. How can one gauge whether or not to give a stock more room than usual to run if long or tank if short versus just a scalp? If you notice that the tape, for example, if the stock is in an obvious downtrend, for example, TNXP, right, when it was tanking relentlessly, not last week, but the week before that or 2 weeks ago, where it was like there was like the main gapper and it just dumped all day. Okay, when a stock like that is just dumping and it's not giving you that much of a bounce, then you might be able to hold it a little bit longer. I've had a couple of trades where I was able to very comfortably hold for 30 minutes or an hour or what have you. 2 reasons. One, I probably had a really good entry. And secondly, I probably noticed the stock was giving big time washout candles and the bounce is really, really shitty. So when a stock is tanking really hard and the bounce is really bad, then something's up, right? So when a stock is supposed to bounce but it's not bouncing, then that probably the shorts are going to feel better about their position. They're more likely to hang on. They're not going to cover. So less likely chance that there's going to be enough force to cause a nice bounce. So that's a couple of signals I use to identify how you can hold a position a little bit longer, and vice versa on the long side. If a stock, dips, if a stock dips and it keeps going up or whatever, or it looks like it's gonna top out, but it ends up going higher, then that you can probably hang on to your position a little bit longer. All right, so this is going to be the last question. Daniel asks, would you be willing to mentor a few select traders? So this was the first question. And again, for those of you who showed up late, this is something that I might be open to in the future. As of now, no. But yes, it will. If I do end up doing it, it will be only a few select people, only because, my time is valuable, and, I'm going to take only very, very serious people. And, I like to go out. I like to travel the world. I like to go out and party, as you guys see me do. And I'm not going to give up a lot of that. So, if I do end up going that route, it would be very few handful of people. So, if that's something you guys are interested in, man, when the time comes, you guys will know about it. But right now, nothing is really concrete regarding mentoring. How would you go about trading if you have a full-time job? I find this extremely difficult to do, and any advice would be appreciated. It's a very good question. A lot of people have asked me before, how did I sneak trades on the job? So it depends if your boss is lax, obviously. If your boss is chill, obviously you can get away with it a lot better. But there are a couple of tricks you can do. What I did was I bought one of those anti-glare things and I put it on my monitor. If you guys are familiar with those things, they're actually pretty legit. If you have an anti-glare, screen on your monitor, you could literally stand like 2 feet in front of your screen, and if you're not looking at it at the right angle, you can't see what's on that person's screen. So if you're like sitting in a cubicle and your boss is walking by and you have the anti-glare screen on, they can't see shit. Trust me, that's pretty awesome. But all jokes aside, one thing you could do is have your platform running at home and then bring like a cell phone. I recommend a cell phone with a large screen, like a Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Haha, just kidding. No, but like a big phone with a big screen, or like a tablet or something like that. Something where you could use this program called TeamViewer, which allows you to remotely access your platform from home on your phone or tablet. So I did that for 3 years while I was trading on the job, and it worked out pretty well. I was able to actually make a couple trades, very easily, on the tablet or whatever. So I would recommend doing something like that, and obviously if your boss is lax and you could bring like a laptop, by all means do that. Bring your laptop, angle the screen a certain way where they can't see shit, or whatever. There are ways around it. It depends on how chill your boss is, like I said. But if your boss is extremely anal, at the very least, you could bring a big phone, a big tablet, use TeamViewer, remote access your platform from home, execute trades like that. So, all right, guys. So that's pretty much all the questions. If I didn't get to your questions, like I said, I do apologize. We will be doing this again. I'm sure at least maybe once in a while, maybe once a month or something like that. But like I said, I wanted to do this today because I won't be available for the next 3 weekends, and I know that some people had prior obligations, understandable because it is Easter. But those of you that did make it, really, really appreciate you guys showing up. Hopefully, I did answer your question on one way, shape, form, or another. Maybe you had a similar question to somebody else. Hopefully, so that way you got something out of this. But that being said, guys, enjoy the website. There's going to be more content. I'm working on 2 new YouTube videos. Hopefully, I'll try to get them up by this week. But enjoy the content, guys. It's my way of giving back to the community. As time goes on, I'm going to add more features, maybe possibly even a mentorship program, like I said, and a couple of other cool things. So, as long as you guys give me the love and support, I'll keep giving you guys back the same amount of love and support you've given me. So thanks a lot for coming, guys. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Happy trading tomorrow. Kill it in the market, guys. We'll see you guys soon.